to a Nerds podcast. All things nerds, music, horror movies, pro wrestling, video games, anything nerds would like.
Once again, back with another Nerds podcast. Today is like no other day. It's always a good day to have someone on, and I'm always grateful when they do come on. So, without further ado, I have a guest, nice young lady, Alice Croft. How you doing?
Well, good evening, lovelies and lovely.
Thank you.
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing really good today. I'm doing pretty good. I was really looking forward. This was really fun. I'm always glad when people I have anyone who's nice enough to take time out their day to let me just talk to them and whatnot, just ask them just random questions and get to know about, their life and whatnot. That's pretty cool. So, go ahead, sorry.
As that was all I was about to say, so.
So, you're a wrestling fan, right?
Not exactly a wrestling fan, more like a wrestler who is on her way to make a comeback currently.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Were you a fan as a kid?
Yes, I used to become a fan when I was around 12, maybe 13 years old.
Okay. When you were watching as a kid, who were the people do you enjoy watching on television when you were a kid?
That must have been my two absolute favorites, Stone Cold Steve Austin and, of course, The Undertaker.
Okay. Now, what is this, the American Badass Undertaker? Was this the Dark Lord Undertaker? Which version of Undertaker was the one you were watching as a kid?
Back when I started back in the day, that was still the dark style Undertaker. Like, it was, I think, shortly after his American Badass time.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. I like to know the timelines because, like, when I was a kid, when the Undertaker first, showed up on WWF, it was the gunslinger looking kind of Undertaker, the one that he would actually put you in body bags and stuff like that. And I remember him showing up at Survivor Series and just taking everybody out. And that was the Undertaker I remember as a kid. So I'm always curious the versions that, other people remember as when they were kids.
Yeah, I can imagine. I did a little bit of schoolwork back in the day because I was kind of obsessing with The Undertaker in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It does.
So I used to watch a little bit of his earlier work. One thing that specifically stayed in my mind was that time where he sort of tried to crucify Stephanie McMahon for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, can they do that?
Are they
allowed to do that? What?
I guess they can. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was all.
Oh no. Okay, I was make sure I didn't want to cut you off. Now, the funny part about that whole angle, this makes me laugh because it's super corny. Now it was probably corny then too. It's like the whole thing where the Ministry of Darkness, and they had all these people that were basically had the Brew, they were all like minions under Undertaker, and the storyline, which I would like to have happened, I know it couldn't have because of Jacob Snakes Roberts' substance abuse in real life. He should have been the guy who should have been the basically the Lord of all darkness. Like he should have been. It would have been cool at the end of the reveal who is the leader of the minions, the leader of the darkness. If it was Jacob Snake Roberts. Because if he was healthy and clean and did the things he's supposed to do, that would have been freaky as hell. But it ended up being
that would have been crazy.
Yeah, that would have made sense. But was corny as hell as it was, and I don't know, maybe they meant to do it. I'm not buying it. I think they didn't have any real ideas. When Vince McMahon says me all lost, and I'm like, man, what is this corny? Oh, shut up. I didn't like that. I thought it was corny as hell. I said, come on, dude. Really? What? You nailed your...
Come on now.
You nailed your own daughter on the cross? Really? Am I supposed to believe that? Oh, come on. Get out of here with that nonsense. But yeah,
that was a tad little bit over the top. But personally, I think just this over the top factor is what actually made a lot of people get interesting in the first place.
It did.
They watching TV and they going like, oh, what the hell are they doing there? Oh my God, they're crazy as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the factor that actually catches a lot of people, because that's what kind of ties them to the product in a way that it catches the interest, and they're going to be like, what are they doing? And they're going to start asking questions, and that's when you slip into it.
Oh, yeah. You know, I mean, everyone has their journey into wrestling, who becomes fans of wrestling. It's always, they'll say something that's crazy. They'll say something like, man, I was a kid, I saw Dusty Rhodes get beat to death by the Road Warriors. I said, what in the world's going on here? Everyone has their own journey to wrestling. So there's no wrong way of experiencing wrestling. They're all right ways. Like, were you...
It's not hard.
Mm-hmm. Were you an athlete in school?
Personally, I would say I was always a very mediocre kind of sports girl back in the day.
Okay.
The passion for it kind of began to burn up when I started doing martial arts when I was around 13 years old, I think.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I have a black belt in Hapkido.
Okay.
It's a Korean self-defense kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I also got a little bit into kickboxing. I got into MMA. I got into kung fu, stuff like that.
Okay.
I also got into Agosh Kanai Amis, which is a sort of fighting sport or a martial art kind of stuff, where you learn fighting with different kinds of weapons, actually, like machetes and stuff like that.
Wow.
Pretty cool. Pretty awesome.
You pretty cool. You got like basically you're like a Swiss Army knife in fighting, which is very effective.
Basically, yeah.
I think it's very smart to have a wide variety of martial arts, and I'm not saying like you need to whip someone's ass or something like that. I'm saying it like, if you want to take martial arts of any kind, it's smart to have, you know, a knowledgeable wealth of, you know, martial arts abilities. You know, it's cool if you're a wrestler, but if on the ground, someone on top of you, well, guess what? You know, get away from this, and I'm hitting you with elbows. Or if you're on the top and you're doing Taekwondo, well, guess what? You throw that kick, I'm a shoot on you, pick you up, and drop you on your head. You know, just various styles that they're all effective, and they all have their places. And I think that's pretty cool that you have a wide variety. So, you know, did that help you? I know you say you're coming back to wrestling. I'm gonna ask you that in a second. But did that help you in wrestling?
To be perfectly honest with you, quite the opposite, actually. Because back from my martial arts days, I was used to doing full contact sparring, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And my sparring partners and me, we would whoop each other's asses. Like we would go hand in hand after that. But as long as we were on the mat, we whooped each other's asses. We didn't give any damn about what was going to happen.
Yeah.
There was blood, there were tears, there was everything, basically.
That's cool, though.
And you kind of take that stiffness with you into the ring when you first get started. And that's where problems can begin quite quickly, because
I understand.
That time when you stand in the ring and all of a sudden, and this is a true story, and all of a sudden you stand in front of your trainer and you slap the living damn out of him. That's how you know you fucked up.
Oh, wow. Some people are stiff back then.
Teach me a lesson, he did.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think it's like if the person is aware of it, if they're both on the same page, I don't think it would be a big deal, because there's stories about people being stiff. Shane McMahon told a story one time. I'm gonna say it real quick. I'm not gonna drag it, but he said he told a story one time. But he was in the ring with the Undertaker, and he has like, lightning fast pins because he takes kickboxing all MMA style, and he was lighting the Undertaker up, and like, I think he blackened his eye, and he realized he had screwed up, and he said after the match, Undertaker's mom, kind of chastised him, but the next time in the ring, Undertaker basically had him on the mat. He said something, I forget what he said, and he was supposed to, I don't know what he's supposed to do, but he took his hand and he palmed him as hard as he could. It's like, well, that was my receipt. I got you. I know I deserve that. So if you're in the same agreement, then it's no big deal. But when you slap the shit at someone and they're not expecting it, when they're not expecting you to really, open hand frying pan slap them, you got to know there's a receipt coming your way at some point.
It is. It is definitely. You really, really need to watch out for each other.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's gonna be lots of pain.
Uh-huh.
And, even more than there already is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, most definitely. Now, what school did you train under when you found someone to teach you how to fundamentals?
So my training started back in 2012. It's at the Westside Dojo in Germany. It was in Oberhausen. And it belonged to WXW, Westside Extreme Wrestling in Germany. So I did around 3 years of training there until I had my first official match. After my, I think it was my 10th official match, that was when I injured myself.
Oh, okay.
And after that injury, I gave the Wrestling Academy a tryout. That's an academy we have in Essen. It's basically the same distance Oberhausen would have been. And that was also on the WXW. So I've had the privilege of having a couple of very, very good and professional trainers. And they trained us hard, but they trained us fairly.
Okay.
And I think that's something that you really don't find often around business.
Okay. Now, when you first got on the mat for the first time and you took your first bump, do you remember how that felt?
Yeah, so you way around computers a little bit.
Nah, not really. I wouldn't say I'm smart. I'd say I can turn it on.
But let's say I'm pretty sure you know about the blue screen of death, right?
Yeah.
That was my brain. It was a complete shutdown and restart of my entire central nervous system, and I remember lying there and going like, "Wow, okay, this is your life now."
Jesus Christ. I can tell you, I tried it one time in my early 20s, and it was a ring not too far from my live, and I remember getting in the ring, and this is the first time I ever heard of word bump or anything. I was willfully ignorant of everything. And he said, "All right, man, you take your first bump, and you ready, man?" I said, "Yeah." And I hit that mat, and I said, "I will never do this again. I'm not built for this." It hurt so much, because I'm like, I don't know what I thought it was going to be, but it felt like someone kicked me in my back, and I took all the wind out. And I'm like, nah, too much of a candy ass for this.
It's especially a lot about your breathing technique. That's a lesson I learned the hard way back when I started training, because I used to forget to breathe out, and you can imagine what happens. I'm sure it was the same feeling you had when you took that bump.
Yeah.
That kind of depression in your lungs building up, and you're sitting there like,
yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
So it's all about the breathing, and to this day I still sometimes forget it, and I hate myself every time it happens, but
yeah, it is what it is.
I know that one of those magical days, I'm gonna learn it. I'm gonna learn from my mistakes.
Yeah, it takes time.
Might not be today.
Yeah, it takes time.
But it will be one of these days.
Yeah. That's what jiu-jitsu I learned, and if I knew jiu-jitsu, I think that would have helped me. That's the thing, and I'm not saying I'm expert. I'm a blue belt, which means nothing. But when you take a flat back, or you kind of, I don't even should know the terminology in jiu-jitsu, but basically I'm gonna say flat back. you smack the mat to basically take all the impact out, and you're supposed to not hold your breath. Even when you get someone does a front kick to your abdomen, you breathe out so you don't get the wind knocked out of you. And it's the same premise. If I knew that, I might have been a little bit better, but I still wouldn't have been too soft to handle. I don't think I would have been to handle regardless. I wouldn't have lasted, so it wouldn't make any difference. But yeah, you said you're making a comeback?
Yes, sir. At least I'm trying to.
That's cool, though.
Like, currently with the whole pandemic going on and Corona and all schools being closed, it's sort of hard. So I've been sticking to home training mostly, doing DDP yoga.
Okay.
And I gotta admit, goddamn DDP, you did a good job on those programs, man.
That's cool, though. I'm glad. I need to try it myself. A lot of people have said that that's very effective.
Good. They built me up like crazy. Like, my injury I got in the ring back in the day, that was a knee injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the term for it is unhappy triad.
Mm-hmm.
So basically there were 2 torn ligaments and both menisci were broken as well.
Mm-hmm.
And my doctor just kind of looked at it and was like, Miss Croft, what in the 9 circles of hell did you do? And I was like, I don't know, man. I was just in the ring and I was doing a kick and something broke.
Oh, God.
And after that surgery, my knee was close to being completely immobilized.
Wow.
So because they had to take a piece of my muscle out of my thigh. And because of that, I kind of had problems moving that part of my leg at all.
Mm.
At this point, it's as good as new, thanks to DDP yoga.
Mm.
No, this is not a paid advertisement.
Yeah. Hey,
it is just that good.
Mm. Did you ever see this? And I don't know, you might have saw this. This is a video that circled around, and it's a very fucked up video. I hope the guy is like okay. It's horrifying if he's not. But it was an indie show somewhere, and in the ring, it looked like it was built with people's bed frames. I don't know what the hell it was. It looked horrible. And this dude, you probably know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
It was horrific. It was horrific. This dude, all he did was get in the ring. He stood on the second rope. He jumped down, and it looked like his legs turned into Gumby. I was like, oh, God. Oh, my God.
You had those flamingo legs going
I
on
said,
after that.
what?
That was horrifying.
What did you...
I seriously hope that guy got decent help.
Hope he has some medical... Hope someone is his family or someone... Because he won't make no money from that match regardless. If anything, he might get a hot dog. But when he came off that was worse. That fall was worse than the fall that Sid Vicious did in WCW back in the day when he wrestled against Scott Steiner, which whoever told him to jump off the rope needs his ass whooped. I would have kicked him in his chest. Because that man is too big to be jumped off the top rope. And he came off the top rope and his leg went badoop. It bent in a way that no human being should leg should. Oh, man. Oh, I screwed up. Let's see. Got cut off. Hey, sorry. I think I got cut off or something.
Yeah, no worry.
I was just talking about the basically Scott what's his name Sid Vicious screwing his leg up and it popped and whatever. But anyway, I get off of that nonsense. What are you doing to like basically keep yourself training wise, healthy wise, besides DDP? Are you doing anything else to help you stay healthy?
Well, mostly I try to really watch my nutrition, especially since we're basically trapped indoors right now, and there's a kind of dangerous pandemic going on outside. I think now is the time more than ever to try and keep as healthy as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been really watching my nutrition, and it's done wonders for my shape in general.
Okay.
So that's fine.
That's cool. Now, this I looked at your profile and everything. You look pretty cool person and everything like that. It said one time you had posted you watched The Exorcist like 21 times or something like that. Or it might have been The Shining. One or two, I don't remember.
And it gets funnier every single time. That's a Beetlejuice quote.
I know. I love that. He's like, and it gets funny every single time I see it. What do you think?
Beetlejuice is great.
I love Beetlejuice. You know what's funny about Beetlejuice?
Yeah, it was one of my favorite cartoons as well back in the day.
Yeah, it's a funny movie.
Do you remember that cartoon show he had?
Yeah, it was a weird cartoon. I never understood why they were friends.
It was.
They never made any...
No worries, all of us kind of grew up messed in the head.
Yeah. That was always a weird thing. It's like, it'd be like Freddy Krueger was friends with one of his captives. Like, why are y'all friends in the cartoons? Y'all never seen the movie? I don't know. But,
yeah,
you know...
that was kind of plot hole.
Yeah, it is. You know what's weird about that movie? And, like, I never think about it. I watched it recently in the theater, because we can watch cheap little movies in the theater. If that movie came out now, there would be psychiatrists on CNN talking about the very flippant... They talk about suicide a lot in the movie, in, like, a very, like, you know, flippant way. They don't... And now I'm not offended by it, don't get me wrong. It was just interesting how many times suicide was brought up. And, you know, depression and how, like, you know, she's an avid, you know, pill popper.
Yeah, that and underage marriage.
Yeah, weird.
That would also not be a very good thing to do nowadays.
Oh no, that would be very sketchy. But back in the day, and I'm gonna say, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 46, so I'll be 47. When I was a kid watching TV shows and movies back then, they didn't really, the humor, and I'm not saying it's like it's crass, but the humor was very different. You know, I will give you 3 examples. This is funny. Porky's in the movie is set in 1955 at Angel Beach High School, and it was like a very, you know, come of age movie. There's scenes in the movie that if they came out today, they'd be very sketchy. Like, I don't know if you ever saw it, and the movie's like a silly movie. There's some very good, you know, social commentary on racism, whatever. It's kind of cool, but the funny part of the movie still makes me laugh is when 3 guys, Tommy Turner's one of them, goes down to the girls' locker room and they're all taking a shower and they're looking through the little peephole and they get caught. Tommy Turner thinks it's a great idea to stick his thing through the hole. Well, the female butch, what's his name, Bueller Ballbreaker, grabs his thing and then he gets away. And then her idea was to talk to the principal and say, hey, let's get a lineup of dudes. And Tommy Turner being one, and he blindfold him, and we all inspect his dick to see which one is what. And I'm like, imagine that conversation now. You're going to jail.
Definitely.
That is just like...
Oh, dear.
I'm like, if I was the principal, I said, I'm starting to get it straight. You want me to look at a boy's dick? If you don't get out of my office, I will fire you. Look at this, like, that's a funny movie. And then there's like a movie like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And you probably heard of it, you probably seen it, I don't know if you've seen it before. And then, like, I'm not going to give you the plot. It's not important. But the premise in the movie is the principal was a hard-on for one dude. One guy that he probably wouldn't have graduated. This dude left high school, went to the dude's house to break in his house to prove that he skipped school. What's the point? Why did you care? Why don't you just suspend him? Or just let it go?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. That's not a healthy behavior.
That was weird. That's like as a kid, I never put that together. And as an adult, and I'd be thinking, like, why did you care so much? It's one dude. And I have a theory, And I'm going to say it real quick. My theory is this. The reason why he had a hard-on because of him, because he was a giant nerd when he was in school, and he saw the cool kids float by. So he had a personal vendetta because he felt like that kid reminded of the kids he went to school with. That's my theory. I don't think they ever said reason why he cared so much, but I think that's the reason why.
So basically, the Severus Snape story.
Yeah. And then the third one is basically Breakfast Club, where Breakfast Club is about all these kids in detention, Saturday school detention. When I had once in high school, it's dumb as hell. And they all talk their problems, they all cry, and they all whatever. But this one kid, who was kind of the rebel, badass kid, the assistant principal who was like, there during detention, like, gets him in a small room and says, boy, I know you'd like to take a swing on me. I love you to take a swing. And the guy, he was like nervous because he probably was abused at home. And I was thinking to myself, if I was him and that principal told me to swing on him, he wouldn't have finished that sentence because I've been on his ass. I would have turned that thing on top and say, you can't hit me back. I'm in high school. I can whip your ass, but you can't hit me back. So if he had told me that, I said, oh, I've been wanting to swing on you for 4 years now. I would have knocked him out that day.
Well, I'm not sure if I would. I mean, if someone gives me the opportunity to smack at him, then the first thing I would probably do is question his sanity. Because my left fist is dead, and my right fist, I'm scared of that.
Yeah.
Why would you want it to hit you?
That's funny.
That's okay.
Even though I like talk wrestling, but since I brought up Shining, I feel like I'm not like deterring the interview too bad. Like I just got like what horror movie, if it was a horror movie that did give you nightmares, if you had one?
To be quite honest with you, horror movies never got me remotely far to being really flat out scared.
Yeah, okay.
I've seen a couple of horror games that were pretty good at that, though. As for example, if you really want to give yourself creepy-ass nightmares, you should check out SCP-087B.
Okay.
That's like it's a very simple game. It's like a simulator where you're walking down a staircase. And seemingly that staircase is endless. But at some point your sanity will basically reside in the game.
Wow.
And you'll start seeing things. And every now and again something will pop up around the corner and it will either chase you from the front or from the back and you need to outrun it, and it can be quite stressful. And that's a game that got me shivering one time. Okay. Another great game is Amnesia, The Dark Descent.
Okay.
It's an older game, but goddamn, there's some psychological horror behind it.
Wow. That's cool. I like that. He's like, I see. Is that your attire? Sometimes I see photos of you, and you're wearing like a tie and everything like that. Was that your attire that you wore to the ring? This is your regular gear, clothes.
That's sort of more of my newfound look.
Okay.
I just kind of grew attached to the whole concept of the bow tie because
it's a good look.
In a way, it brings out the fact that I'm still a nerd at heart, after all.
Yeah.
But also, it kind of became the sign of the Lovecraftians, basically. The Lovecraftians is what I refer to as my followers and fans who like to follow my content.
Okay.
These are all my little Lovecraftian armies. And, yeah, that's our sign. Little bow tie.
I like that. It's a cool look. I like that. It's a really cool look, though. When I look at you, I think about I don't know how to I'm not very knowledgeable of the character because even though I do read DC comics, I like them, but I think the character it looked like the character from the Teen Titans or Young Justice. I think she's a sorcerer or something like that. I'm not sure. She's a princess of somebody. I can't remember. That's what you look like. That's what made me think of. Hmm?
Do you mean Raven?
I think Raven or something like that. You make me think of her.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I can deal with Raven. Raven is pretty cool.
Yeah. I thought it was cool, but I didn't know too much about her.
Another point that's kind of connected to the whole bow tie and my general attire is also H.P. Lovecraft.
Awesome.
Because I'm a huge fan of his work.
Okay,
and
it's pretty
the
cool.
kind of horror he kind of brought us into this world by writing down his stories. A lot of his stories started out with nightmares.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm a big fan of him, and also Nikola Tesla, because he was a fucking genius.
Yeah, he was cool as hell.
And he was so underappreciated.
Yeah, I know. He got screwed over, though. He clearly did. You know, the person we always respect, we look up to, was a thief and a liar. The one, you know, Thomas Edison was a gigantic thief and a liar, and I'm glad it's coming out that people feel like how full of shit he was. But he's dead now, so it is what it is.
That's actually one of my favorite jokes I like to make nowadays. If you drive a stolen Tesla, would you actually be driving an Edison?
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Hey, did you ever see on HBO? They did H.P. Lovecraft TV show on HBO. I forget the name of it. Man, I should know this because I watched the entire season. It was a takeoff H.P. Lovecraft, novels and whatnot. It was a very, very good written show. And I'm not smart enough to really describe it. Like, it's like over my head. Like, it was so out there. It was very over my head. So I'm not very good at describing it. But if you have HBO or whatever you have streaming, whatever, if you can find it, it's very good. And Netflix is going to do one too. It was a very good show, but I'm not smart enough. I can't describe it because I'm not going to do justice to it. But it was awesome.
That sounds like something I might want to check out.
Yeah, it was so good that, like, it's one of those shows, like, you know, trying to explain something that is so far out there. It's like, I'm not going to give it justice. I would just say him and check it out because whatever I was saying was like it's not complete nonsense. But it was very good. Like, what are you watching now? If you're watching anything on television?
To be quite honest with you, I hardly ever watch any television or movies or anything like that. I usually only do that when I'm in company. What I spend most of my days doing is actually learning how to program.
Okay.
Currently.
Okay. That's cool. Like,
well, thank you.
What are you trying to figure out? What, like, you know, because I'm not tech savvy. It's amazing I'm actually doing this right now. That's a miracle. I can actually, you know, do a podcast at all. So what are you trying to program or trying to understand?
Oh, that's very good. So I did learn the basics of JavaScript, which is a kind of programming language. But right about now, I'm trying to get into C++.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to get into creating a video game of my own.
Okay.
And basically, I have everything at the ready. Like, I know who the characters would be. I know what the gameplay would be like. I know what the setting would be like and what the storyline would be. But yeah, now comes the tough part, putting it all together.
Okay, that's cool. I like that. That's cool. That's all right. Now, first, I'd like to thank you for nice enough to, you know, take time every day, and then, like, hopefully, like, down the line, like, when you're not busy one day, I like to just hit you up and I like to have other questions to ask you as well, because I want to ask you a wide variety of things, you know, outside this wrestling and everything like that, because it's really fun. But, like, no, I know you're trying to get back to training, so, you know, I'm just going to ask you more of a fantasy question. Actually, I'm going to give you two. And since you're a wrestler, let's say, you know, this is all fantasy. let's say if I come to you one day and I'm some big, wrestling promoter or whatever, and I want you to build up a stable of wrestlers who will be the onslaught of wrestlers to take out whoever's in the wrestling universe, and you get 4 wrestlers plus you adds 5. You're the ring general. Who, and this is living or dead, doesn't matter who it is, who would you pick in your stable? You get 4.
That's a plenty good question.
Mm-hmm.
I think my very first general would be someone who is known around America.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Matthew Vaughn, and he's known as Nightcrawler.
Okay.
And he would certainly be someone who would be very fit for a stable of mine in terms of being my personal protector.
Cool.
Person number 2. Let's see. So basically, I can take any wrestling person, persona who's out there, right?
Anybody, doesn't matter.
All right. So my second pick, that would be Tekla.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
She's a very talented female wrestler who is currently in Japan, I think.
Okay.
So I would love to have her around in my stable. I would love to meet her inside of the ring. I would love to train with her in general. She's kind of a little bit like one of my personal idols around the wrestling business.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be my second pick. My third pick would be Asuka.
Okay.
Because she is freaky, but she's also happy, and she makes everything seem very unique, and at the same time, you believe her in what she does. You believe her that she's this happy little squeaky lady who's also a little bit crazy, but she's absolutely lovable and adorable.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, she is an absolute badass.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So she would be pick number 3. Ooh, lucky number 4. Let's see. Well, I mean, I would be kind of an idiot if I wouldn't take my trainer from back in the beginning of my wrestling days into consideration.
Awesome.
Which would be Alistair Black.
Wow. Awesome.
So that about sums up my stable.
It's pretty badass stable right there. You're gonna be knocking people out. Now,
Well,
I like that. That's pretty awesome. Now, this is one of more like your WrestleMania match kind of thing, because I can't think of a description to describe it. Living or dead, who would you like to face in the ring against? Doesn't matter who it is. Yeah, I don't have to know who it is.
Let me think. I think what would be pretty cool would be a match me against Abaddon.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
That would be 2 separate kinds of horror clashing onto each other. Lovecraftian horror versus Gully horror. And
that'd be cool.
I'd imagine it to be pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. That's all right. I like that. Thank you again. And this is pretty awesome, and I really appreciate you're nice enough to do this. Hey, I don't have a catchphrase, and I want to try something out, and I think it'd be kind of fun. And since you're from Germany, how would you say you're listening to a Nerds podcast in German?
Let me see. Ihr hört gerade einen Nerds-Podcast. Yeah.
Cool. That's pretty.
There you are.
It's pretty cool.
That sounds like we were breaking up again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Say it again in German.
So what was the full sentence?
Cool. Thank you again for allowing me to interview, and I really appreciate that. And hopefully down the line we'll get to talk again. And I just thank you so
very
much.
much for having me.
Cool. And I hope you have a very
appreciate
good day. I hope you have an awesome day.
Well, same goes to you.
Cool.
Thank you for having me, and maybe along the road we shall meet again.
Awesome. I like that. Cool. You have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you again, Miss Alice Croft, for being nice enough to allow me to interview you, and this was very fun. You know, it kind of broke up a few times, but, you know, it is what it is. It ain't supposed to be perfect, so I'm not upset about that. For today, I think I'm going to play music for signing out.